Joining us now to discuss what happened at the White House Correspondents Association dinner over the weekend, we are pleased to welcome Matthew W. Doherty, who served with the United States Secret Service for 21 years and was the special agent in charge of the National Threat Assessment Center. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I attended the event over the weekend. I had to show my ticket, my purse was checked, I went through the metal detectors. The President of the United States was attending, as well as the Vice President and several members of the cabinet were in the ballroom. You have over 20 years of Secret Service experience. How did the shooter manage to get so close to the main ballroom?
It's a great questions to be asked in an after-action report, and these are good questions to ask. Yeah, it is quite surprised me. It did surprise me to get through a security checkpoint like that. Um, at no time was the inner perimeter in danger, and we have three circles of security: the outer perimeter, the middle perimeter, and the inner perimeter. And in that outer to middle perimeter, that's where the breach took place. It was at a main security checkpoint, and you were there in person. I've worked that event many, many times. I've looked at the video dozens of times this morning. Um, what is surprising is that security checkpoint. Um, was there a semblance of tables and security and magnetometers at the time of that breach for them to come in? And couldn't agree more. The hotel, that's a tough venue to do because you have guests, they run a business um, all across the country. Protectees of the Secret Service, State Department, et cetera, are at ballrooms. It's a political event for the White House Correspondents Association. So, where are you going to get a ballroom? The most common venue is a hotel, and you can't just shut down guests at the hotel. So, you try to wall that off from guest access.
Now, when you look at movies and even history, you can see so many crazy things happen, whether something could be planted in a hotel room or potentially if a guest went back to a hotel room and then came back. When you look at this situation, do you think that it was just not a safe venue, or could something else have been done?
Well, this was getting more scrutiny. I know you've been part of those, the White House Correspondents' dinners, but they maximum scrutiny. That was the first time President Trump was going. And so you did have a high semblance of attendance, really for the line of succession and the continuity of government. For all practical purposes, many of the people that were attending there collectively are the same people attending a State of the Union message inside the Capitol building. So I think what you're going to see in the future is those venues under scrutiny with the line of succession. And let's not forget that media accounts claim, and not surprisingly, that perpetrator was targeting any member of the Trump administration, maybe not just the president. And in my years at the National Threat Assessment Center, we knew that perpetrators like this, to accomplish their goals, switch targets. So that was a target-rich environment for being in a hotel ballroom.
So, as you mentioned about the Capitol, when we do see so many people gathered together, what do you make of the president, the first lady, the vice president, and so many members of the cabinet all being together in the same location?
It's a risk. It's definitely a high risk, and hotel ballrooms perhaps that should be rethought in the future. Now, again, Secret Service protocols for cover and evacuate worked. We work in very Secret Service works in very close concert with cabinet secretary detail leaders, governors detail leaders. Everybody knew where to go. They just didn't crowd. The president had his own designated area for evacuation that I'm very familiar with at that particular hotel. But it's a coordinated effort. Who goes where to get them out of the building? But I think in the future you're going to see hotel ballrooms with a continuity of government like that. That'll be a consideration for future events like that.
So, when the public is looking at this, as you explained, there's the outer, the inner, and then the closer different circles. Do you feel that this was then a success because he was eventually stopped? And can you just explain how that works?
Well, the inner perimeter is the closest proximity to the president or a protectee of the Secret Service. And there was clearly an egress out of there that's been planned in advance. I've seen it many times over the years, having worked that ballroom myself um, for a couple of decades. Designated area for the inner perimeter to cover. There's a multi-layered approach to that. You saw the Secret Service counter assault team. Their goal is to draw fire away from the president. All of that worked. The inner and pretty much the middle perimeter worked. What I'd like to see is an after action of the outer perimeter. Was the security checkpoint still in place? Uh, were there magnetometers and tables still in place? What did that security checkpoint look like? And was there any disassemblance of that structure when he ran in?
What security measures and protocols now need to go into place to ensure the president and his cabinet are safe?
What future security measures?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I think you have to take a hard look at that outer perimeter and again reconsider ballrooms for continuity of government. But the protocols have been in place. We've had those other assassination attempts, and the protocols have been in place for decades. Whether it be how do you conduct yourself around a limousine and armored limos, the cover and evacuate procedure. It happened pretty quickly just a few feet away from where President Ronald Reagan was covered and evacuated very quickly in the limousine at the same hotel, coincidentally. So those procedures will work, and it takes practice, practice, practice to do that. Training is just so essential. It has to be second nature to an agent's physical reactions. You saw that reaction at the response. They've been trained to do that many, many times. It's second nature to them. What happened? There was no panic on the part of the agents. They conducted themselves heroically. Again, it's that outer perimeter that we should do an after action and see how to better improve.
And there was some 2,500 people that were in attendance. What would your advice be? You said that you have worked this event before in that ballroom for other people who were there to stay out of the way, to stay safe. When we were alerted, we heard the gunshots. We also could hear the commotion that was happening very close to the table, and people were told to go under the table for protection. What would your advice be?
Yeah, it's very similar to an active shooter. And this is a case of targeted violence where a known or knowable assailant attempted to attack particular targets. But that's a tough call because, first of all, people didn't know what was going on in the first few seconds. But shelter in place probably was the best motive or the best precaution because you were surrounded by security to hide under the table, just like when you see an active shooter run, hide, fight. I think a shelter in place would have been most prudent at the time, perhaps maybe an announcement, but again, it happened within seconds. But that was a good approach to take. Can you imagine if 2,500 people tried to run out all at once? That would have been a stampede.
Mm.
And oftentimes, and I've seen this in active shooter situations in the United States, where a distraction was made for initial gunshots. Little Rock, Arkansas, there was a school there where the person set off the fire alarm so people could run out of the school to conduct more harm. So probably shelter in place was the best approach. We don't know if that was a diversion. We know it wasn't now, but that could have been a diversionary tactic to get people to run out for to have more carnage from other shooters. So I think hiding under the table and sheltering in place, it worked like it was supposed to work. Frankly, even though it was so disconcerting to you and others, I think it worked like it was supposed to work. You just don't want total chaos and a stampede outside of the building.
And you have seconds to be making those decisions. If we pivot just for a moment, given that King Charles III is visiting from the UK this week, will extra security measures now be going into place?
Extra I don't think so. I think there'll be there's already indications the White House is going to meet with the Secret Service moving forward. How can we do things better? But the resources are there. I can assure the American public and you as a participant, the resources are there, the protocols are there to ensure the safety of our protectees and our continuity of government.
Matthew, thank you so much for your insight and clearly some lessons to be learned here.
Thank you very much for having me.